When it comes to Star Wars games, it seems everyone has a favourite. Whether your favourite game is Star Wars Dark Forces, or even just Battlefront 2, there is always one game that is held in high regard for one Star Wars fan. And thanks to this game, I finally have one myself. That being Star Wars Squadrons. Star Wars Squadrons came out in late October 2020, and during the build-up to the game's release, there was quite a lot of hype on what you would be able to do in the game. Whilst we've seen a game like this in the X-Wing series on PC, that was over 20 years ago. So to be able to sit in the cockpit of your favourite Star Wars fighter and battling it out against either AI or other players, it felt like a natural new way to bring you into the Star Wars universe. And that's why in today's video, I want to take a retrospective on the game since its launch, up until where it's relatively fallen off and already reached its peak. So without any further ado, let's jump right into the video. Star Wars Squadrons was actually leaked before it was announced by EA, and it went under the name Project Maverick. After the Xbox homepage accidentally leaked the artwork to the game, many people were scrambling together to try and figure out what this new game would be. And it wasn't until a few days later that EA decided to just reveal the game, which was Star Wars Squadrons, a first-person flight simulator game that solely focused on multiplayer while also having a single-player campaign. Opinions of the game was relatively mixed at first. Flight simulator games are quite niche and it's not going to pull all the Star Wars fans together. But as time progressed and we saw more in terms of gameplay for single player and multiplayer, there was no denying many Star Wars fans were clamoring to get the game on release. As an example, at Gamescom 2020, everyone tuned in to find out information on two games, Fall Guys Season 2 and Star Wars Squadrons. And it certainly didn't disappoint. Not only did the graphics look great, it looked like a complete upgrade to the Starfighter Assault game mode from Battlefront 2. And when the game finally launched, it sold extremely well in the first couple of weeks. Displaying sale numbers EA wasn't expecting in the first month, but as for sales after that month, we don't really know. However, it's not all sunshine and rainbows. The biggest drawback to the game is that many people were focusing on the single player campaign when the game is more of a multiplayer focused MOBA instead. Whilst a lot of effort and assets were put into the single player campaign, it was only 7 hours long and it served more as a tutorial to learn how to play the game rather than experience a new storyline. And I don't blame them. All the advertising and the amazing ILM animated trailer made it suggest it was going to be a big storyline driven game. So when the majority of people pick this game up, play it in one sitting and then think that's that, it left a bit of a sour taste in their mouths when they never actually played the proper part of the game anyway. For me personally, I never actually played the single player game. And I've played hours upon hours of this game, doing tons of videos covering it too. But my entire time playing that game was in multiplayer only. My only negative to the game is that it's a multiplayer focused MOBA with no live service for it. Meaning myself and many other content creators covering the game knew the lifespan of Star Wars Squadrons was pretty limited. And unfortunately, the bad news doesn't really stop there. For people who did decide to bite the bullet and play multiplayer after the single player campaign, they were greeted with what was frankly a mess when it came to matchmaking and ranking. The game evaluated how well you played and put you in a division that represented your skill in the game. This information helped serve towards the matchmaking, so if somebody was really good at the game, they'd go against somebody with a similar skill level. Unfortunately, that didn't happen because tons of people got stuck with 0 ranking and they couldn't climb up or down. They were completely bugged out every game, which meant everybody was going against everybody, and some people were crushing the competition and other people were just having a really bad time. This problem carried on for another 4 weeks, a full month of the game just when it released having this major issue, which probably deterred a lot of new players from not really wanting to come back to the game because they felt they weren't good at it. So whilst the game had an absolutely rocky start, it just got better and better and better from there. The matchmaking was fixed, they were rolling out more updates every 2 weeks, and just when the game reached a pretty good balance, they decided to drop a huge content update, giving us the TIE Defender and the B-Wing. People went mad for this update because it's the two ships that people wanted the most. This and the fact that they added private custom matches drove so many people back to the game. And there was a time people were questioning that this game could have longevity thanks to the private custom matches feature. We even made our own custom game mode with those settings. However, one thing that Star Wars Squadrons was able to prove itself to be that games like Battlefront or Jedi Fallen Order to ever compete with is the fact that the game felt like it could be a brilliant esports title. There was some caveats to this, however. The fact that the TIE Defender was so strong for so long due to issues in the core mechanics and controls that allowed the top 1% of players to abuse it to the nth degree. So it became quite difficult to balancing the TIE Fighter to make it not be as powerful for pros, but still be playable for people who were just playing the game casually. But that did not deter the staff at EA Motive who made the game. They made patch after patch when they didn't need to, and it really put the game in a pretty healthy state. As for esports tournaments, there was tons of them. Operation Ace was the first esports tournament made by the community, and the production levels that went into it was fascinating. Next up was the Calrissian Cup, where they wanted to have a monthly or bi-monthly tournament to show just who the pros really are. And as a one last hurrah, the Twin Sun tournament coming in with a $20,000 prize pool, and the production and quality that went into it was second to none. And honestly, it showed just how much of a core audience Star Wars Squadrons built in such a short time. And it's so ironic that EA, in a time where they're releasing so many DLCs, microtransactions, and live services for their games, this was the one game that needed it. Alas, it never meant to be, and the game has been on a decline since. However, that is to be expected with a game like Star Wars Squadrons, where the developers said there was going to be no more content updates. The decline has been very slow, however, as the game has seen quite a lot of success on the Xbox Game Pass, and even more so on PlayStation Now. Because of this, and the game supports cross-platform, the game has seen quite a healthy amount of players every day. How long that'll last though is up to debate. Overall, Star Wars Squadrons showed us a game that we never knew we wanted. Whilst many people bash the game, believing EA cancelled Battlefront 2's live service for Star Wars Squadrons, the fact of the matter is, Starfighter Assault game mode in Battlefront 2 pales in comparison to Star Wars Squadrons. And the fact that every single ship class had their own unique ways of play, X-Wing and TIE Fighter classes being a general all-rounder for capital ship damage and dogfighting, TIE Bombers and Y-Wings primarily focusing on capital ship damage on flagships, TIE Interceptors and A-Wings primarily focusing on taking other players down, and the TIE Reaper and the U-Wing supporting their teammates, whether it be through healing or replenishing their ammo. This amount of detail in a flight simulator for Star Wars was never really seen before, and whilst it was directly inspired by the X-Wing series of games in the early 90s, they never had this much interaction when it came to player versus player. Many hope that EA has realised the success in Star Wars Squadrons, and that just like Battlefront, they'll make a sequel to the game and have a live service with it, but from there, we probably won't know for a good couple of years. So to be best put, Star Wars Squadrons was one of my favourite Star Wars games to date, and it was the most enjoyable game with the biggest potential that EA unfortunately didn't capitalise on. So whether you're a new player and I've just convinced you to play the game on your console or PC, or you're a veteran on the game and I've just convinced you to boot it up once more. Retrospectively speaking, Star Wars Squadrons was and still is my favourite Star Wars game ever. And the question that I pass over to you, is it your favourite too? Well, that pretty much wraps up today's video. Let me know your favourite Star Wars game in the comments down below, and let me know why it's your favourite game as well. Also, if you enjoy these type of videos, leave a thumbs up so I know to do more in the future. Maybe I'll do one on Empire War, or even an older game like Dark Forces, or even Rebel Assault 2. But besides that guys, I've been Charlie, you've been watching EcksToo, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care guys.